The transfer window closed on Friday, so who has done the best business? Well, we know who's done the most business because we could take a look at who spent the most money, and it's Chelsea who are top of the pile with £391.7 million spent. Tottenham on 213, City on 211, Arsenal just short of 100, Man United on 171, and Liverpool on 145.
We're short of 200.
The classic six. The classic six would be the big spenders in this transfer window. And, of course, that doesn't take into account the players that have gone from there and it's gross spend rather than net spend and all those things that people get really excited about. But all we're asking is not, you know, who's spent the most money. We want to know who's had the best transfer window, who's come out of it looking much stronger than they were before it opened.
I think West Ham made some good signings. Yeah. I think West Ham...
Enough to balance out losing Rice?
I think Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse will probably balance that out.
The boy Kudus they signed is fantastic.
Kudus is very good. I think Mavropanos, former Arsenal player, you know, I think that they're good signings. I think they'll be very happy with that because, you know, West Ham people knew they had the money, so they had to really box clever. I think they've got a new recruitment guy there as well. I can't remember his name probably, but I think West Ham have done pretty well. I think Forest, with the signings, you want a couple of those players at Forest, Hudson-Odoi, for instance, you know, you hope that someone like Hudson-Odoi can really get himself going. It's only a few seasons ago.
They had a crazy final day, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, with 7 players coming in.
It was just another one coming back.
Origi, Origi, Tavares from Arsenal. You know, they've kind of got some players that you think, when you put those guys in there, it looks pretty good. I think Forest, they'll cause problems with the players they've got. But I'm going to probably go with West Ham because they've started well and they've added well. Yeah,
given that Rice went right at the beginning of the transfer window, and then they made their signings quite late on, didn't they? I think it was 4 in the last 3 weeks or so for West Ham. But with Nottingham Forest, one of the issues around them last season was that they'd made all those changes. Some of them they had to make, because they had lots of players on loan in the Championship, and then struggled to bring them into the team. This feels like a more considered transfer window in terms of what they needed. Who's impressed you, do you think? Whose business has impressed you, Owen?
Do you know, all those teams on there, I quite liked all their business. Liverpool, I like, you know, Szoboszlai, I think he's an amazing player. McAllister to go in there. Gravenberch, obviously, to come in there. I think United I think even United, Onana and Rasmus Højlund, I think that's, you know, they needed that. So I think that's good. Tottenham, I think, made some really good signings. Villa, you know, I think with Diaby and Pau Torres, I think they're some great signings. So I think a lot of the teams are actually a lot better. The only one on that list that I'd say you're a bit curious about the whole project is Chelsea. You know, they're spending all that money, but they still, they got Nicholas Jackson, who's going to be good. And the goalkeeper, you know, you ended up with Brighton's third goalkeeper and you spent 400 million. It just seems like, I know they're trying to sign 22 and under, but so you want to compete and be ready, and it feels like they lack a little bit of leadership. Captains, outside of Thiago Silva in there, it's quite a young team in Raheem. So I like business, kind of all the team. Arsenal, City, amazing business.
The one thing that the caveat to Liverpool's transfer business, and that's been probably the most up and down of any, because it started with McAllister, ended with Gravenberch, but then in the middle of it, you've got they miss out on Moses Caicedo to Chelsea. Then they look like they're going in for Lavia. He goes to Chelsea as well, and it all felt a little bit. It all felt a little bit down. And then they end it on a high with Gravenberch, but there is still
but the thing is,
question over the future of Mo Salah.
Well, yes, there is. But, like, just going with Caicedo and Lavia is that, yes, of course, you're probably your first, second, what you want, the players that you want. But, like, you don't get them. But what you end up getting is more than good enough. More than good enough. Probably, you know, when you look at the way that, you know, especially the way Caicedo started at Chelsea, I hope that it kicks in for him. But when you look at what Liverpool's got, I think it's very good. And then, like you mentioned with Mo Salah, that's, for me, I don't even know if that's the guys Saudi, they're flexing to come in at that late, to come in for a player of that calibre, you know, that late. It's almost...
You can't let him go. You're not going to let him go, are you?
You're not going to let him go at that stage of the window, but, like, it's almost disrespectful to him. If you're going to do that, then do it at a time because you're trying to buy him. Now it's just unsettled.
Well, let's see how unsettled they're feeling at Liverpool, according to Jurgen Klopp.
Meetings this week, and the meeting were not about what we did in the past, it was about what we will do in the future. Mo was with the players' committee, and Mo had his moments where he was talking and there was nothing about, by the way, it's only until next week or whatever, and then my future, and he's completely here. He's completely here, and if Dom said that, fine. Mo doesn't have to come in my office and tell me, by the way, boss, I go. But for me, it was not a subject for 1 second, to be honest. Besides your question, the left and right of it, nothing.
I know, and I know Jurgen Klopp has said this, and I know last year Mohamed Salah's agent went on Twitter and said, you know, we wouldn't have signed a big contract last summer if we were going to move. This is not a, you know, this is not an issue for us. He's happy where he is. But the money is ridiculous money, and it's all very public negotiations as well. There's nothing subtle about any of this. It just seems like it's all just going up by 25 million pounds every time you hear about it.
Very difficult for Liverpool.
It depends how you look at it. If you look at it sporting-wise, football-wise, it makes no sense to let him go now, and you can't even replace him. If you look at a business point of view, if you're the owner...
Where are you going to get that kind of offer again?
Exactly. But I think the Saudis will be there next summer, in the summer 2024. He will have 1 year left on his contract, so you might get less money. But still, Mo Salah is still very good, as we saw yesterday. So he will still go for a decent amount of money. But yeah, it's not the 200 million that you can potentially...
I think that what they're very fortunate with is that a powerhouse like the Saudis can come in and they'll wait and still pay extraordinary amounts of money for a player that's, what's he going to be next year, 32?
31 now, yeah.
31, 30, so 33, you know, they've because before the pandemic and everything, with Mane, Firmino, or one of those guys, if there was no pandemic, I'm just saying it, they probably would have gone the way Liverpool finance moves. We saw that happen with Coutinho, how they're able to spend that kind of money or get that kind of money in and then spend it so wisely like they did. And you would have thought that at this stage, where was that going to come from? And now it's come from the Saudis. And then, like you say, they might wait. They will wait, won't they? Because he's so big.
Yeah.
He's so big, he's worth waiting for. But, like, Liverpool will have to make that deal at some stage, no doubt about it.
But the reason it's so interesting to talk about, even though everybody keeps saying nothing to see here officially, the reason why it's so interesting is because it asks all kinds of questions. It's about what motivates Mohamed Salah, whether he wants to go and earn a load of money or whether he wants to stay and potentially win trophies, and what drives him and what motivates him. And there's also the question of a potential World Cup bid. Saudi Arabia with other partner countries that may be putting that forward that he could be part of. And there's his position within the Arabic world and his status within the Arabic world. So it just asks an awful lot of questions that aren't just purely about, have you got the money, do you want the player?
Yeah.
Well, I think, first of all, I think Mo's legacy is set. You know, it'd be one of the greatest Liverpool players ever. If he goes there, which he probably looks like he will, because that money talks. You know, you think about Benzema and Neymar and Ronaldo and all these guys. So he'll probably end up going there. Hopefully not. I hope he stays. But I think his legacy's set. You know, and at 32, think about, you know, coming from Egypt, the impact that money could have in his country. You know, the stuff that, you know, what he could do for his people, I think is something maybe some of these guys think about too. So you want to see the best guys in the biggest leagues, but at some point that money is just, you know, it changes everything, and it's a shame that it does. But I think for Mo probably to be the kind of the leader there, I think will probably have a big say in it. It'd be hard to leave Liverpool though.
Yeah, but like that's the kind of thing that can move Pricey away, because it could get into a place, Kels, where Liverpool can't, like you're saying, it's going up in 25 million increments.
So it's great, isn't it?
So, you know, at some stage, someone's going to have to go, stop, okay, yes, because like, it's too much money to turn down for a business. Liverpool's a business.
They could buy 3 players with that.
Absolutely.
And it's top players.
Not anymore.
Not
anymore. That's
2 top players.
Oh, yeah, but they can't buy them.
Yeah, not nice, close. So,
no, I know. I'm saying eventually.
Exactly. But if that bid had come a month ago, which I don't understand, Al Ittihad had the money, or like they had the money for years. They were
This is why I don't like
it. It was just left hanging around.
This is the thing that feels strange about it, that it all seems very last minute when it absolutely didn't need to be. But the other thing I was going to say to you, it does feel very last minute, but I'm still not 100% sure how last minute it is, because according to the Saudi League, the transfer window, the deadline for registration of new players is on the 7th. According to the FIFA website, the Saudi deadline for registering new players is the 20th of September. So there is a bit of a discrepancy there. We're working to the 7th, I think, in our heads.
Yeah, but they should work to what the transfer deadline is here.
Yeah, good point, right.
You know what I mean?
They should,
Each league is free to do, the Premier League could do the days that they want.
The Premier League can't set the transfer deadlines.
It can't be more than 12 weeks, I think.
Right.
So your window has to last as much as 12 weeks, but not more. But you can set it from 1st of July to 12 weeks later.
Yeah, what I'm saying with is it Al Ittihad?
Yeah.
They surely, if it's Mo Salah, they want Mo Salah. They haven't just woke up a couple of days ago and said, look, we want Mo Salah. They could have done that ages ago.
But maybe they thought if we come late, Liverpool won't have too much time to think, and they say, okay, 200 million, we can't say no. We take him.
Yeah, but then surely they've got to think from a business point of view, Jules, that
I agree.
if you come that late, how are Liverpool going to spend the money to buy a 30-goal a season striker, which he's been, 20 plus Premier League goals a season for how long he's been here?
Maybe they found a couple hundred just sitting around and then they realised we can spend this.
That's Liverpool
in the settee. They found it in the settee.
If Liverpool, don't forget how long it took you to get over Mane leaving.
Yes.
In your pressing. If you lose Salah, you just don't know. You've got great forwards now that can replace him. You can have Luis Diaz, Jota, Darwin front three, which is great. But then we saw with Mane, it's not that easy to.
It's not that easy.
So Liverpool's transfer window, broadly good. We're working on the assumption that Salah is going to be staying.
Yes.
When we say that, have you said who's impressed you in the transfer window?
I think Manchester City. I mean, but when you can spend 100 million on a defender because Laporte, who you don't even play anymore, is leaving, it's just you keep upgrading every position where you lose a player. You lose Mahrez, who was very good for you, but who's getting old now. And Jeremy Doku, one of the most promising, exciting youngsters. Very direct, skills, incredible, pace, incredible. You 65 million, here you go. Mateus Nunes, here you go again. It's just Kovacic, a really good price. It's fantastic, I think, what they do.
So Manchester City have got stronger, having won the league title last season, having won it in 4 of the last 5 seasons.
That's right.
And they've got stronger this time around.
Exactly.
Right, so that's not worrying for anybody else at all. Has anybody surprised you, think, in the transfer window?
I have to say, just to continue on what Owen said, I was impressed that a lot of clubs actually did some clever business. We used to the Premier League just spending money and money and money, and they spend more than ever in this window. I think 2.5 billion or something. But actually, a lot of clubs did their homework well and bought well and in a clever way, in a smart way. Maybe sometimes paying just over the odds, over the price. But I think everybody thought carefully about what they needed and who they went for.
I think Crystal Palace's business in keeping Gueye, Eze, and Elise, where Chelsea came hard. Yeah. You know, after selling Zaha, was brilliant business for Palace. Fantastic business for Palace, I think.
Yeah, and
Newcastle is an interesting one. You know, they signed a lot of players kind of... Tonali was the headliner, but they signed a lot of good young ones. You know, Livermento's a fantastic player.
Fantastic.
You know, Lewis Hall, you know, he's another good player. Harvey Barnes, you know, they've gone kind of... I think they've gone for that personality rather than the superstar. They've gone for kind of nice,
just
nice guys.
Small
you know what I mean?
step up again, and then kind of
I think it's been a good window for a lot of teams.
Been a good window for a lot of teams. So that's over and done. We're now at the first international break, as we keep saying. 4 games in. What's been your moment so far?
Well, I thought Ricey was going to pick Declan Rice's goal from yesterday, but
people think I'm being biased,
didn't.
So I'll leave it for someone else.
Just because this was the first big... I know we had a Chelsea-Liverpool early on and the Liverpool-Newcastle, but this one felt, of the big guys, this felt like a real one. And to have a winner, it could have been a United winner, it was an Arsenal winner, but right at the end like that, in that kind of atmosphere and what it meant for both clubs, winning and losing, I think it was very special, so that was my moment so far.
Yeah, it was one that you very much enjoyed as well, Righty, but it's not the one, despite all of these celebrations that you went for. What did you go for as your moment of the season?
I like this goal because, like, as soon as this happened, I said, goal. Goal. I think Maddison's signing at Tottenham's a real proper signing. And I like what he done at Bournemouth when they were giving him stick, and he done that with the corner flag. Yeah. I just like the fit, so I'm going to go with Maddison.
And Owen?
Yeah, I mean, this has probably been one of my favourite moments I've seen in a long time. David Brooks coming back. First of all, the chop, by the way.
Yeah.
But after what happened with his lymphoma, with his cancer issue, and he's an amazing player. But seeing back on a football pitch after that, I just think first goal back after that is that's been the best one for me.
Yeah, it's the perfect one to end on. Owen, Jules, lovely to see you both. Thank you very much for coming in. What a weekend! 41 goals scored this weekend, and as you said, we had a blockbuster game.
And the one thing he'll be hoping for is that he recaptures the form he showed when he first burst on the scene as a young teenager. As far as Liverpool are concerned, it's always been about that midfield area of the football pitch. And they've certainly rebooted that part, the middle third. You know all about that, Leon. Ryan Gravenberch, another midfielder on Merseyside.
Yeah, exciting. You know, they've identified the problem area of the pitch, especially with them You know, losing Henderson and Milner and Fabinho over the summer, they knew that they had to go out and strengthen, or they've left themselves very short. And they've signed 4 players to make that the case. This is the last, and I think that they now have energy. I think they now have guile. They have, you know, abundance of desire. And we're talking about a lot of young players. The only concern is, are they all a little bit too young? Is the experience as a 4 going to be the case? But again, another great acquisition.
That's a good point, because he's only 21 and Szoboszlai is getting used to life in the Premier League, as is, well, Alexis McAllister knows about the Premier League from his time at Brighton. But there certainly is more creativity from this Liverpool midfield, which was more functional, right? It had more legs in it before.
Yeah, well, last year we all talked about Liverpool and we felt the midfield had dropped off the pace a little bit. Henderson and Fabinho looked, you know, a bit leggy at times, and then we all talk about the press at Liverpool, and they couldn't keep up with the front three press, and they were sort of a yard off in midfield. So they've added youth, they've added legs, and they've added loads of energy in that midfield area. Now, the next question is, can they settle in the Premier League? Because we know how fast and furious it is. They come from different leagues, you know, different languages and all that kind of stuff. But how quick can Jurgen Klopp get them up to the pace of it? And can they settle in a big club like Liverpool?
Yeah, but the early signs are encouraging, right? Szoboszlai has fitted in.
Szoboszlai is good, yeah.
Has been
very
seamless,
good.
yeah. Let's have a look at the biggest spenders so far then in the Premier League. Well, this is as it will go down in the history books after this summer window. No surprises to see Chelsea top of the list. Almost £400 million spent from Mauricio Pochettino. This summer window eclipsed the 5 windows he had at Tottenham alone. I mean, he's got new tools, he's got new resources. Has he done the best of what he's been given?
Well, firstly, I think that's no surprise that Chelsea are top spenders. I don't think it's a surprise that to see Mauricio Pochettino heading that. He went to Chelsea to be able to spend money. He wasn't really allowed to do that at Tottenham. Has he got the players he wanted? Yes, absolutely, it seems. Will those players fit into the plan that he's about to set up? Only time will tell. We haven't really seen enough of Chelsea. They're certainly a work in progress. But the fact that he just points at a player now and says, I want them, and the club go out and get them for him, he'll be living a dream at the moment.
But still lacking a centre-forward for you or not?
No, I like Jackson a lot. I really do. I think he's a top player. I think he's going to have a great season. And with the players that they've signed in this window, it's going to be I think they're going to look strong this year.
OK. To this transfer window special, I'm with Leon Osman and Shay Given as the dust has settled on the summer transfer window closing, and it's been a record-breaking one at that. We've got a quick-fire element to this start of the part, actually. I want to know 4 or 5 things from both of you. So let's start then with your best signing of the window.
I'm torn over this. I think my best signings are also potentially underrated signings as well. I think the signing of James Ward-Prowse has been a great signing for West Ham. You've lost Declan Rice. You've got a bit of money to spend. You've only spent 30 million of it on a player you're coming in who's hit the ground running, already got 3 assists in the Premier League after only 3 games. So, yeah, I'm going for James Ward-Prowse.
OK, Shay?
I wasn't expecting that answer, to be honest. But
that's fine.
No, but actually, it's certainly under the radar in some respect. And it's a seamless fit for David Moyes.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, as you say, with set plays. But I just wasn't expecting it with all the superstars we just signed in the Premier League.
Keep it simple.
I've gone for Tonali at Newcastle, obviously with my
there's no
Newcastle connections. But for 53 million, you talk of some of the other fees, you know, Rice 100, I think Caicedo 150 million for a very similar player. You got Tonali for 53 million. He's 23, he's a special player, and it's amazing in the Champions League they get AC Milan first game away for him as well. So no, I think he's had a big season. Tonali, I like him a lot.
Yeah. Underrated signing you've touched on, but you can't have James Ward-Prowse.
No, I'm actually going for Alexis McAllister. I think 35 to 40 million for a guy who's won the World Cup. He's on an upward curve. His form is getting better. You know, you're talking about the sign of Tonali for 50-odd million. And, you know, I think when you look at the price for Alexis McAllister, I just think that's an incredible deal Liverpool have got done.
I've gone for Onana at Man United, just purely for the way he plays. Obviously, David De Gea was a brilliant goalkeeper, had a great career at Man United, but I think the way Ten Hag, once he set his team up, a lot goes through Onana, and I think he sort of went under the radar a little bit. There's big news De Gea leaving, but I think how Man United want to play and how a Ten Hag wants to play, especially with Ajax, he played some 150 games. He knows him inside out as a goalkeeper, but I think we'll see a lot of action outside the box this year from Onana than inside the box.
Yeah.
But it's exciting as well.
Yeah, dare I say, an incident against Wolves had a few Manchester United fans getting a bit nervous. Biggest coup of this summer window?
We touched on mine earlier in the show, Ansu Fati. I think Brighton now being in a position to go in and get players like that who they're not sort of tricking to come to the club. They want to come and play for Brighton. I think his potential is incredible. They just need to get him back on track, and Roberto De Zerbi looks like he's the guy that can do that. So, yeah, that one.
Biggest coup for you, Shay?
I've gone for Caicedo, obviously, because Liverpool wanted him as well. I think they bid 110 for him, and obviously Chelsea outbid them at 115. But he actually said he had his mindset on Chelsea. He was supposedly a Chelsea fan growing up, and so I think he's a brilliant player. But the transfer fee, there's still question marks over that. For me, it's a big number.
I was going to say, can he be a coup at 100 million?
Well, a coup more because two clubs are fighting over him.
Yeah, and you managed to get him.
Yeah, that's my reason. Yeah.
OK, which team has had the best window?
I'm going to go for Manchester United, actually. I think this will surprise Shay as well. But I just look at...
Full of surprise today, aren't you?
I hope that continues as well. I just think if you're looking at what they needed to strengthen and where, and I think that the most important part of a side is the spine right down the middle. And they brought in a striker, they brought in two very strong midfielders, they brought in a goalkeeper. And I just think that, if you're looking at really strengthening the team, bringing in characters as well, not ridiculous prices, especially when you're talking about strikers. If he hits the ground running, it'll be incredible, and I think that could be a transfer window Manchester United look back on and say that was the one that made us.
Interesting, Shay.
I've gone for one of my old clubs again in Man City. I think the business they've done, by selling some of the players. Talked about Palmer earlier. They brought in Guardiola, Nunes, Doku, and Kovacic, and I think the net spend's £50 million. Now that's the back of one in the treble, one in the Super Cup. They're the club that everyone's chasing. And I think them business and them that quality of players has improved them. I think which is hard to believe after the season they just had.
Finally, if you had to sum up this window in one sentence, what would it be? I mean, this has proved to be a tricky one, I can tell you.
Well, I just think it's absolutely bonkers. I think it's £2.4 billion. £2.4 billion being spent this window. You think it's going to calm down, it's going to settle down, but I think even yesterday, did you say 100 million spent in one day, was it?
On transfer deadline day alone.
In one day. It's crazy.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I don't see it ever stopping, to be honest. That is what we've got at the Premier League.
So it gets bigger and bigger and bonkers. So those are the two sentences you're going to get from my guests. Let's have a look at the biggest spenders then, shall we, from this window. In terms of the biggest signings, this is where we've come to. Declan Rice, Moises Caicedo, who we've just touched upon, the arrival at Chelsea. I mean, the biggest one, of course, or the most intriguing one, let's start at the top. Declan Rice, Arsenal. This is the man that they wanted. This is all that Mikel Arteta was desperate to get. And we can see, I suppose, now, 3 games into the season, the kind of impact he's already having at the Gunners.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Arsenal did. They identified their target really early. They didn't mess about waiting to do a deal on the day of the transfer window.
Which is unlike Arsenal, right?
Yeah, potentially, but it's not unlike Mikel Arteta. He likes to get his business done early. So he's gone out, he's told them, this is what I want. I'd like to get it done as early as possible. Get him mixing with the team for pre-season. And he did that with all of his signings. But yeah, Declan Rice, it just gives them that extra energy in midfield that allows, as you've seen already in the first few games, Thomas Partey to play at right back at times, give an extra midfielder in this new modern way of playing. And he can patrol that midfield area all on his own. The interesting thing will be to see if he starts to drive forward, if he starts to add with those forward passes and then forward drives in possession that we know he can do. But an incredible signing. So
if he's made an instant impact, what about Arsenal's other big money acquisition, Kai Havertz at 75 million from Chelsea?
I don't know what they say. Still question marks for me. I think he struggled a bit at Chelsea. Arteta's obviously gone out and got him for big money as well, Manish, and thinks he can get the best out of the player. I still think it's a slow start for Kai Havertz. There's I don't know. It's just a strange signing for me. I think it would be more an out-and-out striker would have been more beneficial. Obviously, got Jesus and Nketiah, but I just think Havertz. What position is he? He's not a number 9. He's more midfielder. But is he? You've got Odegaard as well. I don't know. He's more question marks over. Leon, you might be. You're more attacking midfielder. I don't know. What do you think of him?
He's a player that can play in multiple positions. I'm not sure exactly his position that is his strongest, but Mikel won't mind that. He can fit in seamlessly to a multitude of positions and be very effective. And I think that's the kind of player that Mikel Arteta wants. I don't think you'll see Kai Havertz play one position for Arsenal. I think you'll see him play a range over the entire season.
You've touched upon this already. You said that the best team window for you has been one of your former clubs in Manchester City. So if you have a look at the players that Pep Guardiola's brought in, what is it about the makeup of these signings that has impressed you particularly, Shay?
Well, I mean, Guardiola, there's a few clubs linked with him. He's a special talent, very young player. He's only 21 years of age and had a brilliant World Cup, of course, for Croatia. Doku is going to be interesting to see, you know, off the right. He's very direct, 1v1. He's very quick. Still a young player again. Nunes, we already spoke about, and Kovacic brings that experience. He's been in the Premier League a long number of years now. We know how good he is. And again, as Leon mentioned, Pep Guardiola makes players better. He improves every single player that's gone to Manchester City. He's improved them. We talk about the net spend because of the likes of Palmer have moved for big money. Mahrez, of course, Laporte. These guys have all been sold on and made you know, good money on them to sort of balance the book with a financial fair play. So again, you know, they're at the top of the tree and everyone tries to knock them off, but by them signing them great players, it's going to be difficult.
Across the city, Manchester United, you've talked about the spine where Erik ten Hag is addressed. Now, what is interesting, we've spoken briefly about one or two players, but not Sofian Amrabat, who's coming on loan from Fiorentina. I mean, is he the holding midfielder that has been crying out to play in this side?
Well, I think the first 2 or 3 games of the season, you've seen Casemiro be slightly exposed in the centre at times, and that's what Amrabat will give this Manchester United team, just someone to play alongside at times when they need. But, you know, they've gone and needed a left-back, so they've gone and got one. As you said, they've got the new goalkeeper in Onana, who will give them something else playing from the back. We've not seen Højlund yet, but we're all really excited to see how he goes, hits the ground running. That'll allow Marcus Rashford to go and play where we all know he's at his best, out on the left. And I just think that it'll give them what they need.
I mean, I don't know what it is about every summer window, but they seem to get bigger and better, or bigger and better in your respect.
Yeah, you know, you're talking about the big signing that Everton made there, Beto, who certainly the hallmark signing for Everton. But as you mentioned, the transfer window just seems to grow. The standard of players that join the Premier League just seems to get better and better, and it's what we love. It's what brings us excitement at this stage of the season.
Whether you're a fan, a player, or a pundit, you can't help but look at those deals coming in, right? Right until the 11 o'clock deadline.
Yeah, I think every fan around the world is looking at it going, who are we going to sign? Who's going to come through the door? And it's mad that we talk about the amount of money spent, Manish, and the crazy numbers and any other walk of life.
Oh, the standard of players that join the Premier League just seems to get better and better, and it's what we love. It's what brings us excitement at this stage of the season.
Whether you're a fan, a player, or a pundit, you can't help but look at those deals coming in, right? Right until the 11 o'clock deadline.
Yeah, I think every fan around the world is looking at it going, who are we going to sign? Who's going to come through the door? And it's mad that we talk about the amount of money spent, Manish, and the crazy numbers, and any other walk of life in any other business, they wouldn't be spending hundreds of millions on a clock ticking down. They would take their time, get the right deal. But this is football. It's a different kind of business, and that's why we love it. The excitement on deadline day as well is special. And as you say, every club you're affiliated, you're waiting to see who they sign, and are they going to make you better? That's the end game.
Especially if you're Daniel Levy, you like to take it right to the final second of the summer window. Well, look, there was a flurry of activity, of course, on deadline day itself, which is always the case, really, in the Premier League. These are some of the deals that might have passed you by. Matheus Nunes was the biggest capture from Wolves to Manchester City. Brennan Johnson's a really exciting acquisition for Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham. But then you got Cole Palmer, interesting switch from Man City to Chelsea. But one name that's not on that list is Mo Salah, much to the relief of Jurgen Klopp for now.
For now is the correct term, yes. You know, the Saudi League or other leagues in the world are certainly open for a little bit longer. So they've managed to keep hold of him for now. They haven't been able to strengthen on the off chance that he may leave the club, but I think they're confident in Liverpool. I think they believe that Mo Salah will stay at the football club. They'll need him to. You know, the amount of goals he scores is absolutely incredible, and they won't want to lose that, certainly just yet. But, you know, money does talk, and, you know, it's not surprising that the link is there.
But no doubt they would have tested their resolve. The last reported bid, 150 million, Shay. I just wonder, was there ever any room for doubt in that Liverpool board, or was that a flat no, do you think?
I think there'll be lots of doubt. I think, you know, when he's 31, I think he's got 2 years left. He's a superstar, let's not get wrong. He's a phenomenal player, not just for Liverpool, but for the Premier League. Let's not get wrong. He's a phenomenal player, not just for Liverpool, but for the Premier League as a whole. You know, we love watching him play. He's a brilliant player, but at the same time, they must be looking at the bigger picture. We always talk about financial fair play. You know, if you're getting 150 to 200 million for someone in another couple of years as a free, or let's be honest, there's no other club would pay that apart from a Saudi club. They're paying big money at the minute, so it's there must be encouragement as well from either the club or the player, because yesterday it seemed the fee came to get higher and higher as the day went on, and as Liam mentions, the window's not closed in Saudi Arabia yet, so it could be an interesting few days for Liverpool still.
And the business, as Shay said, the business side look at it and say, we bought a player, a commodity for X amount of money. We've had the best years out of him. We've had the peak of his career. He's been fantastic. Have we got the foresight to sell him before we're quite ready to, before he starts to dip? And because if they do, they're going to actually earn money on what is an absolute hero for Liverpool. He's come in, he's scored the goals, he's broken pretty much every record ahead of him at the football club. Have you now got the foresight to go, now is time? Business side will certainly want to look at those figures, but the fans, and I'm sure Jurgen Klopp himself will want to keep him for at least another season.
Absolutely, especially after the destabilising effect of both Fabinho and Jordan Henderson, of course, going over to the Middle East. I think losing Salah would have been the last thing Jurgen Klopp would have wanted at the start of this season. So let's go back to those deadline day deals. If Salah's not on there, these are, and I've mentioned the first few. I mean, Sangare is an interesting one to Nottingham Forest. Forest, incidentally, signing 7 players alone on deadline day was quite something. But the most expensive capture at the top, Núñez from Wolves to Manchester City. A good acquisition for you, Shay?
Yeah, I think City have had a very good window on the back of the treble. The players they brought onto the football club, and Núñez obviously is one of them, the most expensive. But again, in the current climate and in the current prices flying around, he's not too crazy money. I mean, I'm looking forward to see Brennan Johnson as well at Tottenham. You know, Harry Kane going to the Bundesliga, of course. Can he, get the goals that they need? But yeah, I mean, Núñez, this is a phenomenal strike from him. You know, he's a right sider. Obviously, they've lost Mahrez as well, and I think this is a sort of perfect fit up and down that right-hand side. Where will he fit into Pep Guardiola's team? I'm not sure, but if he bangs a few goals on Legas, he's a decent player, isn't he?
Mahrez, Kevin De Bruyne missing for the first few months. He's given himself options in midfield now, hasn't he, Pep?
Yeah, he has, and there's no doubt in the quality of player that they've brought. There's no doubt that he's got years ahead, that he can fit into that because he's already played in the Premier League. He knows what's to be expected and the standards. Bit worrying for me, the talk of strike around the player to force the move. I never like to hear that kind of thing, but I don't think that Pep will have a problem with it. I think everybody wants to play for Pep. He has, this magic wand that makes players better, that players desire to become better themselves. So I think he'll fit in really well in a football club that just seems to make players better.
Well, he got the move in the end that he wanted. He's only played in the Premier League for 1 full season. So what attracted Matheus Núñez to Manchester City?
Being the champions, of course, I mean, it's amazing for me to even think to come here. The coach as well. I mean, it's a huge club. It has a lot of the best you can get, the best opportunities, the best structure. So I think there's a lot of factors that influenced my decision to come here. I think it was an easy one. Actually, I think when I first found out that they were interested in me, I didn't think twice. So, I mean, I'm very happy to be here.
So he's in through the door at the Etihad Stadium. One player that's left Manchester City, Cole Palmer, who's already scored 2 important goals this season in terms of silverware. He's gone to Chelsea for £40 million. He's only made 3 Premier League appearances, Shay. What do you make of this move for him?
Well, on the back of making 3 Premier League appearances, it's a big fee, isn't it? Yeah. Let's be honest. But as you said, this season he started really well. Scored in the Community Shield, scored in the Super Cup final. You think this is his opportunity to show to Pep Guardiola, to Man City fans, that he's the real deal, because they talk about Phil Foden, of course, and then he's the next one off the conveyor belt. But before you know it, a blink of an eye, he's off to Chelsea. And how many midfielders do Chelsea need? They seem to have signed a lot this window. But again, I suppose for him, it's a fresh start. You know, Pep Guardiola's given the green light for the sale to go through. So bringing in the likes of Nunes, then you think maybe he won't play this season either. So get the money. I think the net spend for City this window was 50 million, which is brilliant. Bit of business from them.
For 4 big hitters as well, actually.
Yeah.
Or 5 actually, if you include Cole Palmer. He can play as a winger. He can play down the middle. So where has he gone to fit in this Chelsea side for you?
Well, first of all, I was surprised that Manchester City are going to let him go. You've seen him develop. He starred for England's under-21s in the recent Euros victory. He looked like he was developing. I thought the door is opened. Riyad Mahrez moves on. Cole Palmer will naturally be ready to step into that position. So it did surprise me.
They got Doku on that side now.
Yeah, but Pep needs strength in those positions. He likes to rotate. He likes to keep those positions fresh for different games. So it did surprise me. But I do think that Chelsea have got a very good player. And I think he plays best off that right-hand side, out wide, head of a front three. But as then Shay says, Chelsea aren't short for people in those positions either. So it's going to be a battle for him wherever he's playing his football. It's now going to be at Chelsea. It's going to be a real battle at Chelsea to try and become one of the starting front three.
From West London to North London, Spurs on that list of players on deadline day, Brennan Johnson has joined Ange Postecoglou. And they've made some exciting acquisitions, right? And this is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, he was a shining light in Nottingham Forest last year, keeping them up. He was a real spark in their team. Obviously, the big news for Tottenham summer was Harry Kane leaving. Richarlison, obviously, everyone's asking the questions, can he fill those boots? And he's had a poor start to the season. He looks a little bit off it. Maybe it's a confidence thing with Richarlison, but now there's competition bringing Johnson in. And again, it's an exciting young player. And I think Ange Postecoglou is a brilliant manager, bringing young players. You know, we talk about Pep Guardiola improving players as well. I think Ange does the same thing. He's going to improve him and he'll add goals to Tottenham for sure.
Yeah. One of the transfer coups this window, I think, has caught my eye particularly, Ansu Fati. He's come from Barcelona. We know what he did as a 16-year-old. Announced his arrival really to the world. To Brighton and Hove Albion. What a move that is on loan.
Yeah, one of the big surprises, one of the coups, I think, of the transfer window. Yes, he's had a few injuries recently at Barcelona, hasn't had the upward curve to be the superstar that was expected because of that. But Brighton have got an incredible talent. And the fact that Brighton are going straight to Barcelona for their players now, the fact that these players want to come to Brighton, want to play for Roberto De Zerbi, shows that the upward trajectory that Brighton have been on. And people know that they're a club that are developing young players that can make you better, that are playing wonderful football, that are getting results in the Premier League doing that. So it's a great place, it seems, to play football, and, you know, to be a Brighton fan right now.
Exciting times for Seagulls supporters. Well, let's hear then from the Seagulls boss, Roberto De Zerbi, on his latest exciting acquisition.
We are lucky because we have a lot of young players, potential top player, and it will be one responsibility more, no? Because if you work with this talent, you have much responsibility, because it's a football heritage, and we can make mistake with this player, because football needs this talent.
Position maintenant. Alors, que se passe-t-il? Le buteur Hakim Ziyech est resté au sol.